My name is Ed Lash. I'm a fly tyer from Iowa, and I specialize in deer hair work. And the object today is to tie this bug. First, we will glue up our tailing materials. I'm not afraid to get a little bit of glue on the marabou. And usually when I'm tying at home, I'll tie up half a dozen of these tails at a time. The most commonly asked question that I get when we go around shows is, how do we achieve such tight bodies on these deer hair bugs? And I think that there are a number of reasons why the bodies are tight, but I'm about to show you the important part. If we can ever get some of the super glue out, this is a bottle I've had for about a year. And so I'm going to glue a thread base down, and I think that's probably the most important variable for me in getting a tight deer hair body without having to strain myself doing it. It makes it easy. So we are going to lay down a uniform base of 200 denier GSP thread. I wind that all the way up to the hook eye, and the other important part of this thread base is we want to use this thread to close off this hook eye. So when we're finishing the bug and finishing the head, we don't get the thread inside the hook eye, because if you have that happen, you've lost control of the thread from that point forward. Most people are most nervous also tying these as they are finishing up the head of the fly. And so that's kind of a bad time to have that happen. The second layer of thread back, I spiral like that, and it creates an uneven or rough surface that'll help hold our deer hair when we pack it, so we don't have to continually be using strength to try to do that. Wipe off the excess super glue. Make sure it gets dry. Square the vise. And now we're going to start tying deer hair. This is the tail. We've completed the tail. The next step or stage in a deer hair bug, after the tail and between the tail and the body, is the skirt. And I'm pretty picky about how that should be done. I think that there's a tendency to do skirts somewhat sloppy. I think that it's best not to use much hair doing the skirt, and I'll show you why. So we'll take a small clump of deer hair, trim it, clean it. I think you need some type of device to help do that. I think just tapping it with your fingers won't do a complete job. So we're going to get out as much under fur as is reasonable. This is coarse deer belly hair. We're going to place it in the stacker. I'm usually pretty careful about this, and have it slowly go down into the stacker. Shake it, tap it, and I'll bet you it's stacked now. Let's look. See, it is. It doesn't take, you don't need to pound on this to get the tips to even up using small amounts of deer hair like this. I'll look now for any squared tips or blunt tips of deer hair rather than the nice tapered ones. You can easily pick these out because they've got a greater diameter than the tapered tips do. I don't want this skirt to be very long. I don't want the skirt to dominate the bug. And so I will try to make this skirt maybe a ½ inch or a little more long. So I'll grab that, and we're going to pre-trim this at about a little bit more than ¼ of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. And this will make our trimming later on so much easier. Advance the thread, wrap in the same place twice. One wrap, 2 wraps, flare the hair slightly, and then we're going to walk it to the bottom of the hook. That looks really very good, better than usual. Thumb on top of the thread, finger under the eye of the hook, and then we'll flare the hair the rest of the way. The layer of the skirt above the orange is green. So we will prepare it, we'll get the fuzz, and it's actually under fur and then the shorter deer hairs out. I don't know if you guys noticed, but these are gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous pieces of deer hair. And people also ask, you know, where do you get your deer hair? Why does this look so pretty? And I think that you want to go pick this stuff out by hand. If you are getting it through the mail, I'd say at least half of what you get will not be material that you like working with. And so I really, really emphasize picking this hair out. In person, if you can do that. I have to drive. I get a lot of my hair in St. Louis at Feathercraft Fly Fishing Shop. My wife's folks live there. And I go pick it out in person. So we're pre-trimming these hairs for the skirt. This goes directly on top. Again, 2 wraps. There's a reason for that too. Hopefully I'll remember to get into that. Wrap, wrap, flare it, and then push down on the hair to help distribute that around the hook shank. I'm going to grab the bend of the hook and gently pack this hair back. My eyes just shifted there. I'll move that back. There we go. So we have packed the thread and hair back. I'm going to hold this hair back, bring the thread forward, shorten the thread, and then pull the slack out of the thread. Because every time we're manipulating this hair back here and moving it around, like packing it backward and pulling on it and so forth, it loosens our wraps a little. So I'm going to pull the slack out. You don't want to pull too hard here. You'll cut these deer hair, or cut the deer hair, and then 1 wrap, 2 wraps, 1, 2, and there's our half hitch, and that completes this section. What we'll do now is hold the hair back, and we will pack the knot we just tied back into that hair. And because we have this thread base here that's rough, that we're packing that knot on, there won't be any tendency for the deer hair to push the knot back out again. So you can pack the hair and the knot without having to use a great deal of strength, and it'll stay where you put it. So we're going to glue that and advance our thread. Chris Helms said about 3/8 of an inch to advance the thread. I've actually measured that out. It's about the right amount, for me anyway.